Are you conforming too much? Conforming to such a point that you're living someone else's life, not your life? You do what pleases the crowd around you, what maintains status quo. There was a boy. He had a dream to become a movie star, to go and make movies and be creative. But everybody around him told him, hey, what's the point in that? Look at how many people fail in that. What are you going to end up doing? Just becoming an actor who never got any roles? How are you going to support yourself? How are you going to support your family? And he put his dream aside. He worked hard. 30, 40 years. Achieved success. Good job, good house, good family. People admired him. But one day he sat by himself, reflecting. There's days like that. And a thought crept up in. It said, you didn't want any of this. This is not what you wanted. This is not what you admired. He had spent years chasing expectations of other people, someone else's view of success, not his own. And now he was feeling trapped. He was feeling, what's all this for? What's the point of living? What's the purpose? We work, and then what? Did he waste time? How many people are in that exact position? What use is all your money? What use is all your muscles, your image, your friends? What use are all of these things, your experiences, if all you're doing is trying to please others? And sometimes you're pleasing others and you don't even know that that's what you're doing, because those things have become what you think are your values. And then those values have become your identity. Everyone tells you what your identity should be. This is who you need to be. Otherwise, you're not right. Everyone tells you your beliefs. So you've basically inherited all of this, and they install another program in you. It's called these things you're not allowed to question. So when you do try to question them, you feel guilt. You're like, oh, am I going against who I am? The problem is not whether those beliefs are correct or not, whether that identity is right or not. The issue is you have never challenged them. You've never explored them. You've never asked questions about them. So now your whole personality is based on things you've conformed to. Since you were a kid, you were conforming. The identity, the beliefs, they're all things you've conformed to. And now you get your strength from the people around you, from the masses. They don't want to hear you. They want to hear the programming. And when you say something along those lines, that's when they'll clap for you. That's when you'll feel like, hey, I've achieved something. Whereas all you're really doing is regurgitating what you've heard. What use is anything if you haven't questioned your life? Will it make you feel uncomfortable to do that? Of course it does. But if you've been following this channel, you know that growth generally pairs up with discomfort. There's no growth without discomfort. And if you want to live your life, you can't continue living blindly, following blindly. You might believe in God. Hey, people who believe in God will say that God loves honesty. And if you're honest, one of the things you got to do is find out what you really believe, what you really like. You got to be honest. Hey, God loves honesty. Won't he love you to be honest to yourself? You say, God knows what's in my heart. You've never even looked into your heart to find out what's in your heart. So there you are, building fortresses on sinking sand, showing everyone how great you are. But on the inside, you're poor. There's nothing. Or even worse, you have no clue what's on the inside. You've never bothered yourself to look deep, to look inside you, to challenge yourself. You just want to play it safe. So how will you ever develop a growing mindset, a strong mindset. No wonder why you are easily offended by others. That feeling of being offended comes from a shallow personality. It's like you have just a shell, and you know that when something cracks inside, there's not much. So you feel threatened straight away. Your whole core is at risk now. You're at danger, so you feel offended. Imagine yourself as a leader of an army, but you don't know your army well. You don't know their capabilities. You don't know the foundation of that army. You might lead them into disaster because you don't know what you have. You could have an army of tin cans for all you know. You need to know what you got to behave as best. So as a result of all this conformity and not knowing who you are, not knowing what you're capable of, you're going to develop something called insecurity. Insecurities, they attack the parts of us that are unchallenged, the parts of us that we haven't yet discovered. And I challenge you, look at any insecurity. What is it based on? An idea that you've been force-fed, an idea that you bought into, an idea that's not even yours. So why not challenge those ideas? Maybe they're true, maybe they're not. And if they're not, hey, that's an insecurity you'll put to sleep. So how do we go about this? Well, when you get offended, stop, look, listen, research. Are you driven by fact or by a bias? And that thing that offended you, is it true or is it not true? Why did it offend you? Couldn't you have just gone, yeah, cool, it's not for me? Instead, you got offended, which means you got invested. Now, if you got invested, why not give it a go? See. You might give it a go and go, yeah, it's not bad. Or you might give it a go and say, hey, you know what? It's not cool. I'm not into it. Now, you listening to me might think, but isn't that a waste of time? Like, I wasn't cool with it from the start. It wasn't. Nothing is a waste of time. That's a mindset shift that you need to develop. If you fall into something, it means you needed it. Live through it. Go through it. Experience it. And that voice in your head that says to you, that was a waste of time, that is the waste of time. That voice is the waste of time. Could you have grown without that experience? You might say, but I knew. Knowing is not enough. I was once at a friend's barbecue, and he had a 3-year-old child. And that child was very curious about the grill. Kept looking at it, getting close to it, and my friend, the father, said to him, don't touch it, it's hot. Now you got to remember, the kid knows the concept of hot. You know, he's experienced a hot day, and a hot day is annoying, can be annoying, but it's not dangerous. So maybe to that kid, he thought, hey, the sun's hot, this is hot, it's all hot, what's the problem? The kid waited while we were eating, approached, and touched. We just heard the cry. At that moment, the child now developed the concept of hot. It was no longer, this is hot like the sun. He knew this thing burns. That's a lesson. Sometimes we need to get burnt to learn. And that's what challenging ideas does to us. It brings things from just concepts to reality. And then we know which to keep, which to get rid of. Because if something's just an extra burden, hey, get rid of it. Once you start challenging your concepts and ideas, you start earning your life back. You move away from concept to reality, from being unconsciously conforming to things to taking lead of your life. If you don't live your life, who is gonna live it for you?